Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you've joined me tonight for another quiet journey into the past. Wherever you are, perhaps lying in bed, curled up on the couch, or just beginning to unwind, know that you're in a peaceful space now, a space meant only for rest, reflection, and gentle wonder. This is your time to breathe slowly, to let the weight of the day drift far, far away, and to sink softly into a slower world, a world where the past unfolds like a dream. Tonight, we won't be chasing battles or exploring bloodstained legends. No, this journey takes a quieter path. We'll step aboard a Viking Longship, not as warriors or raiders, but as silent observers of a slower voyage, a day at sea, a rhythm of sails, water, and whispered winds. What did the Vikings do when they weren't raiding? What did their quiet days feel like? How did they eat, sleep, think, dream? Together, we'll drift gently across the sea, feeling the creak of ancient wood beneath our feet, the pull of the oars, the salt in the air, not to conquer, but simply to be there. If you find peace in these soft stories and sleepy histories, please consider tapping that like button and subscribing, not out of obligation, but only if it feels right to you, only if these calm corners of history speak to something quiet in your heart. And if you feel like it, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from tonight? What time is it there? What's the weather like outside your window? Now, dim the lights if you haven't already. Maybe turn on a gentle fan, or light a candle if it's safe to do so. Let your body settle. Let your breath deepen. This is a slow story, one with no hurry, no stress, no need to remember a single detail. Just listen, float, and rest. Let's begin our peaceful day on a Viking ship. The sky is still heavy with early morning mist. A pale silver spreads across the water, barely hinting at dawn. The sea is quiet. So quiet you can hear the soft slap of waves against the long, narrow hull, and the occasional creak of timber as the ship sways gently in its rhythm. You're aboard a Viking Longship, not as a warrior nor as a captain, but as a silent witness, an unseen traveler, moving quietly through the folds of time. Around you, the crew stirs slowly, not to fight, not to plunder, but to wake, stretch sore muscles, and begin another day, a peaceful day, at sea. The ship itself is beautiful in its own simple way. A sleek, narrow body carved from oak, with long, even planks. Its dragon-headed prow is more ceremonial than fierce today. Today, it is simply a companion, cutting softly through calm waters. The sail remains down for now. The wind has yet to wait, so the longship drifts, gently, almost thoughtfully, resting in this moment between night and day. You hear the muffled rustle of woolen blankets as men slowly rise from sleep. They slept curled along the benches. No cabins here, just shared space. Wooden shields still line the sides of the vessel, fastened like a row of quiet sentries. But today, they're only decoration. A few of the crew begin to prepare the morning meal. There's no fire on board, too dangerous. So cold, preserved food must do. Flatbread, maybe dried fish wrapped in linen, and a sip or two of mead or water, stored in carved wooden flasks. The air smells of salt, rope, old wood, and damp wool, but it's clean, fresh, uncluttered by the noise of towns or the smoke of battle. You shift your attention to the sky. A gull cries overhead, then silence again. One sailor hums softly to himself. A tune passed down from a father's father, a melody for long voyages and patient mornings. You notice his clothes, a wool tunic, stained from sea spray, a leather belt holding a small pouch and eating knife. His hands are rough, fingers nicked and calloused, but they move gently with practiced ease. He does not speak, None of them speak much. Their lives are built around rhythm, not chatter. The oars remain still for now. Today's journey will wait for the wind. There's no rush, no enemy ahead, no urgent destination. Only the sea and the slow unfolding of time. You watch as one of the crew peers into the distance, shielding his eyes. Nothing but endless water and the faint line of a distant shore. Maybe they'll land today, or maybe not. There is no schedule on the Longship, only the guidance of waves, weather, and will. The sail is still wrapped tight against the mast, but soon, if the breeze stirs, they'll raise it. A patchwork will dyed red and yellow, stitched by someone's mother, wife, or sister back home. A few quiet conversations begin. The Norse tongue is slow and measured in the morning. They speak of dreams, of aches, of a loose plank that might need tightening with tar and rope. One young sailor takes a moment to sit alone at the stern. He gazes into the gray sky, perhaps thinking of home, of the fjords, or of someone he left behind. But he does not seem sad, only still. And so the ship drifts, and the morning stretches onward, soft and slow and sacred in its simplicity. Not every Viking day was war and fire. Some days were like this, quiet, thoughtful, full of salt and sky, and the company of those who knew when not to speak. As the sun begins to rise, just a little, and the sky brightens to a muted blue, you remain still as ever, just listening, just watching, just breathing. The Longship moves forward, and so, do you? Carried by time, by tide, by the slow pulse of a day long gone, but not forgotten. The sun has risen a little more now. It's no longer hidden, but low, soft, its light reflecting gently off the water, like ripples of gold brushed over the blue-gray sea. The breeze has come at last. Not a rush, not a gust, but the kind of breeze that wakes up slowly, like someone stretching after a long sleep. You feel it before you see it. The faint tug at your cloak, the flutter at the edges of the furled sail, a quiet nod from the shipmaster, and the crew begins to move, not in haste, but in practiced rhythm. One sailor steps carefully toward the mast, leather sandals pressing against damp planks. He loosens the ropes, steady hands working in silence. Another joins him, and together they raise the sail, slowly, steadily, with no rush at all. The sail unfurls like a great linen sigh, catching the light and the wind in one gentle motion. It's not bright red or yellow now, but sun-faded, stitched, mended, a thing both beautiful and useful. The ship answers. With the wind behind it, the Longship begins to glide, smoother now as if pleased. The oars remain at rest. They'll be needed later. But for now, the sail will do the work. The breeze hums through the ropes. A quiet song, not a melody, but a murmur like breath between wooden ribs. The ship moves as a living thing. Its hull, carved from ancient oak, groans ever so softly, not in pain, but in memory, as if it remembers every voyage, every fjord, every storm. You sit invisible and observe. Around you, the men settle into their roles. One begins inspecting the ropes, twisting them in his hands, testing their strength, tightening the knots with short wooden stick. Another tends to the shields, checking how they're fastened along the rails. Not for war, today, but they must still be kept secure. The sea doesn't care whether you're headed to battle or not. Two younger sailors begin to carve something into a plank of spare wood, not for repairs, but for time. A fish, perhaps, a face, a pattern from memory. They don't speak, but their movements are in sync. The ship's navigator, a grizzled man with a beard streaked in gray, stares at the sky, not a compass in sight. Only the sun, the wind, the water's tone. He watches the birds too. Seagulls fly low, and he notes their patterns, their direction, their calls. A simple nod tells him all he needs to know. They are on the right course. The conversation remains sparse. A few soft words in Old Norse pass between the crew. Not orders, not arguments, just quiet reassurances. Even laughter, when it comes, is hushed. There's no audience here, only the wide sea and the long wooden spine of the ship beneath their feet. One man retrieves a tiny pouch from his tunic. He opens it slowly, and inside, wrapped in cloth, is a carved bone token. Maybe it's a charm, a gift, or a memory. He fingers it softly, then tucks it away. The day goes on like this, not idle, but unhurried. Each motion has weight. Each task has a rhythm. The sea opens wide ahead, flat and endless, but not empty. It holds stories, like the one you're living now. You begin to feel it too. The rhythm of this ship, of this quiet journey. Not a raid, not a conquest, just time carried by the wind and the wood, and the will to move forward. The ship has been sailing for hours now, not swiftly, but steadily. It moves like a thought you forgot you were thinking, soft, deep, beneath the surface of attention. Clouds drift overhead, but they're gentle, the kind that paint shadows across the sea, without ever darkening it. A few birds trail your journey, calling out occasionally, but mostly just gliding silently, riding the same wind as you. Then, someone points, not dramatically, just a raised arm, a slow gesture toward the horizon. A shape emerges, low, dark, green against the blue-gray of the water. It's land, not a village, not a port, just a quiet cove, a place the crew has stopped at before. You hear the slow murmur of words pass among them. Recognition, perhaps. This is a place for rest, to stretch, to fix a rope or a plank, to gather water or driftwood, to let the sea pass by for a little while. The sail is lowered, not with urgency, but with the same care as before, a familiar ritual. Then the oars are returned to the water, not many strokes, just enough to guide the ship toward the gentle beach ahead. The longship eases into the shallows. The keel kisses the sand, and the crew begins to move. No shouting, no splashing, only the rustle of leather boots stepping into the cold water, the soft thud of feet on wet sand. You follow them, unseen. This is not a beach of white sand and umbrellas, but a crescent of smooth stones and wild grasses. Windswept, untouched, the ship is left half afloat, half beached, its curve rising like the spine of some great sea creature. Resting just at the edge of land, the men begin to work. Again, not hurried, everything in its own time. Two unroll a section of sailcloth on the grass, laying out tools, coiled ropes, small bits of wood. One takes out a bone needle and begins stitching a tear. The other sharpens a knife slowly with a round stone. A few walk toward the trees nearby, bending to gather fallen branches, selecting only those that will burn well, or hold fast when mending the frame. There's a rhythm to all of this. You begin to feel it, even here, resting on a beach. They are not idle. They are simply moving through the day. One of the crew kneels by a small stream and drinks, cupping water in his hands, splashing it on his face. Another begins cleaning dried salt from a small wooden bowl, his fingers slow, as if the work calms him more than the result. Someone finds a flat rock and sits to write, not with ink, but by carving with a small iron chisel. Runes, simple ones, not for poetry, just names, or dates, or wishes. The fire is lit with flint and patience. not for cooking today, but just for warmth, for comfort. Smoke rises in a thin column, disappearing into the sky. There is no sense of hurry up. There's only this moment. You are a part of it, an observer, quiet, invisible, but not unwelcome. The wind shifts. The sails flutter on the ship, but no one rushes back. There's time, always time. On a journey like this, evening will come slowly, but not yet. The men continue their quiet work. A few stretch on the grass. One sharpens a fish hook. Another checks the hull with a slow hand. Nothing is spoken loudly, but the silence speaks volumes. You breathe it in. This calm, this stillness, this life between destinations. The kind of day, rarely remembered in stories, but deeply lived by those within it. The day has grown long and soft. The sun, once high, is now resting just above the line where sea meets sky. Its golden light spills across the shore, gilding every stone, every ripple, every strand of grass, with a sleepy kind of glow. You watch as the crew finishes their quiet work. Tools are packed away. A few of the men stretch their backs, hands pressed into the small of their spines, not complaining, just unwinding. The ship rests nearby, half in water, half in dreams. Its carved prow faces the open sea, as though keeping silent watch. Someone feeds a fire. A few more dry branches, placed with care. No roaring flames here, just a steady flicker. That crackles softly, and scents the air with smoke and pine. Food is brought out, not a feast, just simple things. Flatbread, dried fish, perhaps a wedge of cheese. The men sit in a circle, passing pieces around. They do not eat quickly. Each bite seems deliberate, almost ceremonial. One of them, older with hair gone silver, takes a long sip from a wooden cup and wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. He begins to speak. A story, not shouted, not performed, just told, in a voice like worn leather. You can't quite hear the words, but you feel them. The others lean in, nodding slowly, smiling at the familiar parts, closing their eyes at the sad ones. These are not tales of battle, nor conquests. Tonight's story is about a bird, a raven that followed a ship for 3 days, only to disappear just before land was spotted. They wonder aloud, was it lost, or was it leading? Another man, younger, tells a quieter story about a fisherman who once heard music beneath the ice in winter. He says he never saw what made the sound, but he never forgot the tune. They do not laugh loudly. They smile quietly, because each man has a story like that, and they all know what it is to wonder. The fire crackles again. One tosses in a pine cone. It sizzles, then pops. The light is fading now. The sea is darker, not dangerous, just deeper. The birds that followed earlier are gone, but the sky remains wide open, fading from gold to silver to navy, as if the world itself is exhaling. One man hums softly. It's not a song exactly, just a tune from somewhere far away. Maybe his mother used to sing it, or maybe it came to him once in a dream. The others don't speak. They let it linger, like smoke or starlight. Eventually, someone stands, not to leave, but to stretch, to feel the earth beneath his feet. Others follow. They tidy the space, brush crumbs into grass, fold the cloth. You notice how careful they are, not because someone told them to be, but because the ship, the shore, the sea, all of it deserves respect. As night begins to whisper along the treetops, they begin returning to the ship, not in a line, not in a rush. Some carry bundles. Some pause to look at the stars. One man kneels, presses his palm to the ground. as if thanking it. The fire is left to fade on its own. No one extinguishes it. They simply walk away, and the beach is quiet once more. But the stories, those linger. They ride on the wind, hidden in the hush of the waves, tucked into the folds of sailcloth and the curves of the hull. And you, still unseen, still watching, you carry them too. The fire's last embers fade slowly into the night. The world softens around you, edges blurring into shadow and quiet. One by one, the men begin to move toward the ship. Their footsteps are light, no sound to disturb the calm. No haste, no hurry. The longship waits patiently, a wooden cradle ready to rock them gently to sleep. They climb aboard, careful not to disturb the stillness of the sea. The sails, furled and resting, whisper softly in the breeze. The ropes hum a gentle song. The timbers creak with the breath of the night. Each man finds his place, some beneath the sailcloth, some curled near the mast, others stretched out on wooden benches, wrapped in woolen cloaks against the chill. There is no light except the pale silver of the moon, casting long shadows in a soft, silvery glow. You can hear the quiet breathing of men, the occasional sigh, the distant call of a night bird somewhere far above. The sea laps gently against the hull, a soft rhythm, like a lullaby. You imagine their dreams, not of battle or glory, but of home, of fields waving in the wind, of children's laughter, of fires burning low in stone hearts. You imagine the creak of the wood beneath them, the chill of the night air, and the warm comfort of wool and leather. The ship rocks gently, not harshly, but with a steady, soothing sway. It is a cradle on the water. Above, stars shimmer quietly, unchanging, ancient, witnesses to every voyage, every story. The men sleep, and the longship sails on, carrying their hopes, their stories, their rest. And you, too, feel yourself slipping into calm, pulled gently by the tide, rocked by the waves, guided by the soft glow of the moon. In this moment, there is only peace, only the quiet song of the sea. The first faint glow of dawn stretches slowly across the horizon, a gentle light, pale and cool, creeping quietly inch by inch, painting the edge of the sea with soft pastels, pinks, blues, and faint gold. The world is still asleep, but not for long. On the ship, the men begin to stir, soft rustlings and blankets, the low murmur of sleepy voices, a sigh here, a quiet stretch there, no sudden movements, no harsh sounds, only the slow, gentle rhythm of waking. The night's chill still lingers in the air, but the promise of the sun brings warmth soon. One by one they rise, pulling cloaks tighter, rubbing sleep from tired eyes. The longship creaks softly, a familiar song of wood and water. Outside the sea is calm, a glassy surface reflecting the dawn's first light. The oars rest quietly, waiting patiently for the day's work. A man steps to the prow, his breath visible in the cool air. He looks out toward the horizon, watching the sky change color, the clouds slowly brightening like embers in a dying fire. Around him, the crew moves with care. Some prepare simple meals over small fires, the smell of roasting fish mixing with the salty sea air. Others tend to sails, checking for wear and tear, adjusting ropes with practiced hands. There is no rush, no hurry, just the steady flow of routine. A young sailor hums softly, a tune learned from his mother long ago. A few men exchange quiet words, their voices low, blending with the sounds of waves and wind. You feel the softness of the dawn, how it eases the world awake, slowly peeling back the dark. The sun rises higher, casting warm light across the deck. The ship creaks again, gently rocking on the water surface. The men gather at the bow, eyes scanning the horizon. No sign of land yet, just the endless sea stretching out, vast and shimmering. They share a quiet moment, a pause before the day truly begins. You can almost hear their thoughts, hopes, memories, plans for the journey ahead. The sea holds many secrets, and they respect its silence. For now, they simply watch, breathe, and listen. The day is new, and so are its possibilities. The sun has now lifted clear of the horizon, casting warm golden light across the open sea. It glimmers on each gentle wave, 1,000 tiny suns dancing across the surface. The Viking Longship glides forward slowly, carried not by urgency, but by rhythm, a pace as old and unhurried as the sea itself. The oars dip in and out, not in battle, not in haste, but in a steady, peaceful stroke, with slicing through water with a familiar swish. In perfect time, like a heartbeat, the men are quiet, but it's not the silence of tension. It's the kind of silence that comes when there's nothing to prove, nothing to chase, only the sea and the sun and the path ahead. A few crew members hum softly, sea ballads passed down by their fathers, tunes sung by men who braved similar waters, decades or even centuries before. You imagine one man sitting near the stern, his eyes half closed, a leather-bound charm in his fingers, maybe carved by his child, or passed to him by a mother before her passing. He rubs it like a prayer, not for battle, not for gold, but for calm winds, for safe passage, for a return. The longship passes under a stretch of cloud, and the sun is softened, wrapped briefly in mist. A cool breeze brushes the deck. The sail rustles gently. Ropes creak ever so slightly, like whispers of the past held in hemp and salt. The younger men work with quiet precision, checking knots, coiling lines, polishing a blade out of habit more than need. But there is no sense of rush. The sea teaches patience. And today, the sea is kind. A gull calls in the distance, its voice sharp and distant, then fading quickly behind. You sense how far they are from the land, not in fear, but in awe. The vastness is humbling. One man leans over the side of the ship, watching the water swirl below. His beard catches the wind like a sail. He sees his reflection in the sea, distorted by ripples, but somehow comforting. Another takes a piece of bread from a cloth bundle, shared with a nod, a gesture of quiet gratitude. They've traveled many days already, and many still lie ahead. But here, in this golden morning light, time has no hold on them. You notice the deck itself, well-worn wood, smooth underfoot, bearing the marks of past voyages. Scratches, carvings, drops of pitch. Each mark tells a story. A storm survived, a lost friend, a successful return. You imagine how many souls have stood on this very deck, whispered to the waves, sung to the stars. They are not alone on this sea. The past rides with them, quiet and steady. And so the ship moves on, not quickly, not slowly, but in time with the tide of life. A gentle hum of existence, floating between the known and the unknown, the now and the timeless. As the longship glides deeper into the open sea, we step quietly into the subtle world of tools, tasks, and the gentle rhythm of life aboard a Viking ship, not of raiders, but skilled seafarers, navigators, crafters, and keepers of tradition. There is no shouting, no barking of orders. Everything happens with a silent coordination, a choreography of knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Near the mast, a pair of seasoned hands is at work with a small awl and cord, repairing a tear in the sail. It's an old flax canvas, dyed faintly with natural ochres and salt-worn to a silvery beige. Each stitch is purposeful. Each tug of the cord echoes patience, not panic. These are the rituals of seamanship. On a low bench by the rail, Another man sharpens a blade on a whetstone. The stone moves in slow, deliberate circles. He's not preparing for battle. This blade is for ropes, for carving wood, for opening a salted fish skin. Its edge is as much a symbol of care as of power. Around him, small bundles hang from beams and pegs, pouches of herbs to ward off rot, a carefully rolled-up map drawn on deerskin, bits of amber tied with gut string, token for luck, or perhaps memories of home. Further aft, the ship's steersman leans against a tiller, a thick oak beam carved with runes. His eyes scan the horizon, not with urgency, but with calm responsibility. He knows the stars, the clouds, the tone of the waves, the shift in the wind that announces a change in weather. Hours before the sky darkens, he fingers a small whalebone amulet as he hums softly, a melody barely louder than the wind. It's not for entertainment. It's a kind of meditation, a way to keep rhythm with the sea. In a quiet pocket near the prow, a younger crewman sits cross-legged, whittling a piece of driftwood. He carves what might be a small horse, or maybe a dragon, or maybe just a symbol that only he understands. This is an idle time. It's a way of anchoring himself during long, uncertain weeks, with chips flutter at his feet like feathers, each one catching a bit of sunlight before falling to the deck. Overhead, the sail flutters lightly. A crewman adjusts the rigging with practiced ease, his hands wrapped in leather, his bare feet gripping the damp deck with confidence. The ropes creak in response, singing a quiet, ancient song in the sea air. It becomes clear, though this is a ship known for conquest, today it is a floating village, a moving monastery of practical skills and quiet resilience. No one here is idle, but neither is anyone rushed. Even eating is a ritual, a shared piece of dried fish, a crust of barley bread, perhaps a sip of mead passed around from a carved horn. Conversations are low and sparse. Words are precious at sea, save for stories at night, or commands in storm. The sun now hangs just past its morning peak. Shadows stretch long across the ship's ribs. Everything, every object, every action, seems to hum with purpose. Here, tools are more than tools. They are extensions of memory, of heritage, of endurance. To survive at sea in the Viking world was not simply about muscle or might. It was about knowing. Knowing wood, knowing water, knowing the sky, and perhaps, most of all, knowing how to wait. And so, the Longship presses on, a marvel of wood and human will, gliding through water with the grace of centuries behind it. The day wears on, and the sky, once pale and polite, begins to shift, not in anger, not in chaos, but in a slow, deliberate transformation, as if the heavens themselves are stretching, waking, deciding to remind the ship just who is in charge. The Longship feels at first, beneath the feet, a subtle change in the sway. The way the boards beneath your toes begin to whisper in slightly different tones. Then comes a scent, not of storm, but of wet stone and deep water churning miles away. It's the kind of smell that only sailors know how to notice. One of the older men lifts his nose and squints at the clouds. Not fear in his eyes, but familiarity. The sea is not an enemy, just a companion, with moods that must be respected. The clouds grow darker at the edges, heavy and woolen. They hang low in places, almost touching the distant water, like gray curtains being drawn. There is no panic on the ship, just quiet preparation. The sail is lowered a little, ropes pull with calm strength, knots retied not in haste, but in certainty. You can hear the creak of the mast, the soft flapping of linen, the groan of wood accepting its burden. A crewman moves along the edge of the deck, securing a barrel of supplies with thick hemp rope. Another tucks away the wooden cups and spoons that might tumble if the sea grows restless. At the stern, the helmsman leans into his task, his eyes steady, his hands firm on the tiller, adjusting angle and tension, as if speaking a language only he and the ocean understand. The first raindrops come not as a downpour, but as tiny, uncertain taps, a misty curtain blown sideways across the deck, kissing every surface with a chill of northern skies. Some men pull hoods over their heads. Others simply blink the water from their lashes. None of them seem disturbed. This, too, is part of the journey. The sea must test those who travel upon it. Soon the waves begin to roll more deeply, gathering height like breath in a lung. Still no crashing, no drama, just rhythm. The longship sways with a slow pulse, riding the rising water like a cradle. And for a moment, the ship becomes a living thing. Its ribs groan softly, its sail trembles, its prow dips and rises in smooth arcs, as though bowing to the sea. No one shouts. The rain speaks more loudly than any voice could. You watch as droplets slide down the wood grain, collecting in rivulets that trace the lines of craftsmanship, of care and history and endurance. One of the younger crewmen hums a melody, barely audible above the wind, a song his mother sang. Perhaps a song that brings the warmth of home, even as the sky turns steel gray. And then, just as gently as it arrived, the storm shifts again, not gone but softened. The rain thins, the clouds part in wisps. The sky doesn't apologize. It doesn't need to. It's simply done testing you, for now. The men begin to move again, loosening the sail, checking the horizon. One of them grins and slaps the tiller, lightly, a sailor's way of saying, "We're still here." In that quiet moment, you realize something important. The power of the Viking ship is not just in its dragon head or its speed, but in its patience, its ability to ride out the mood swings of a mighty sea, without complaint, without resistance, just presence, just trust in the ship, in the sky, and in each other. The journey continues, not in defiance of nature, but in harmony with it. As the gentle mist of the storm fades into memory, the rhythm of the ship finds its steady beat again. The oars lie still now, the sail full enough to carry the vessel onward without much effort. And with the quiet comes a different kind of task, one that doesn't involve rope or wood or sail, but still sustains life aboard this floating world. It's time to eat, but cooking on a Viking Longship isn't like the warm hearth of a farmhouse with its stone walls and iron pot bubbling in the corner. Here, the fire's a whisper, not a roar. There is no chimney, only wind, no oven, only a clever brazier set low in a fire-safe clay pan. Surrounded by dampened sand and cautious eyes, you watch as one of the more experienced crew, a man with a beard the color of river stones, carefully tend to a bed of embers, shielded beneath a crude wooden hood. He doesn't talk. He barely breathes, just watches the fire like an old friend, one that must not be startled or tested too much. A breath of wind at the wrong time could end it all, or worse, set the ship itself ablaze. He places a small iron pot onto the heat, already filled with dried peas and bits of salted fish. The water has been warming for some time, scooped from a clay jug nestled in straw to keep it from the cold. The smell that rises is earthy, nutty, briny, the kind of scent that makes you aware of just how much effort goes into staying fed at sea. Around the fire, crew members gather without rushing. One sharp-eyed lad slices coarse bread with a bone-handled knife. Another opens a pouch of dried herbs, wild thyme and crushed garlic, carefully gathered before the voyage ever began. They stir the pot together, and while the meal is humble, there's a kind of reverence to it, as if the cooking itself is a sacred ritual. No one complains that it's just stew again. No one asks for more salt or better bread. Gratitude is unspoken, held in a quiet way. The food is passed hand to hand, bowl to bowl. You're offered a wooden spoon and a small, slightly chipped bowl. It's warm in your hands, comforting. You take a bite, and somehow, in the middle of this vast, moving sea, among creaking wood and flapping sail, you feel grounded, anchored. This meal, this fire, this moment, it binds the crew together more surely than rope. And all around you, the mood softens. There's laughter, low, almost bashful. A joke about someone burning the stew last week. A memory of a tavern in Hedeby, where a man once traded his shoes for a meat pie. The fire flickers, glowing warmly now. Someone leans forward, hands outstretched to catch a little heat, not because of the cold, but because it feels like home, as the bowls are emptied and rinsed with seawater. One by one, the men drift back to their stations, but you linger for a moment longer. The scent of the herbs clings faintly to your clothes. The taste of fish and grain still lingers, and the fire, though small, burns on, not for warmth, not even for light, but for comfort, the soft ember that says, we're still human, we're still together, and we will continue. The sea stretches into darkness now, but it is not an empty darkness. Above, the sky unveils its ancient code. A canopy of stars emerges, quietly, like a secret finally being whispered. To those patient enough to wait for it, on the Longship, lanterns are dimmed, voices soften to murmurs. Only the slow lap of water against the hull and the creak of the mast remain loud enough to hear. You look up. The night sky is unlike anything you've seen from land. No city glow, no rooftops, no trees, just horizon upon horizon of stars, sharp and cold and impossibly still. But to the Vikings, these stars speak. A navigator sits toward the stern of the ship, not young but not old. His face is weathered like driftwood, eyes squinting not in confusion, but in study. He isn't reading a compass. There is no parchment map. He watches the constellations like old friends. Orion, known here as Frigg's distaff. The North Star, steadfast and unmoving. His fingers trace invisible lines in the air, measuring angles, checking the mass shadow against a small disk of carved wood, a sun disk used even under starlight. For the Vikings understood the language of light and shadow in ways we've long forgotten. You sit near him, just close enough to hear him whisper the names of stars in Old Norse, almost like a lullaby. Nostr, Eiktherner, Agir's breath. He doesn't need words to know where they are. He feels it in the pitch of the waves, in the wind sigh against the sail, in the rhythm of the oar locks, a kind of internal compass passed from mentor to apprentice, generation after generation. Sometimes he leans over and dips his fingers into the sea, tasting the salt, smelling it. It tells him how far they are from land, how deep the water runs below, whether the fjords are days away or hours. And all the while, the crew sleeps in shifts, trusting this quiet star whisperer to carry them forward, without question or doubt. There are no clocks, no buzzing alarms. Time is marked by star paths and breath, and the creaking lullaby of the ship itself. The navigator offers you a small stone, round and smooth, carved with a rune. He tells you it is for luck, for clarity. You hold it in your palm, cool and solid, a piece of the old world. one where direction comes not from machines, but from trust and night and memory. You lie back on the wooden planks, gazing skyward. The stars don't shout. They don't sparkle like cartoons. They wait, patient, and then they guide. And you, on this quiet Viking voyage, feel something settle in you, the quiet truth. Sometimes the way forward isn't seen in front of you, but above. Dawn doesn't announce itself on the open sea. It unfolds quietly. The inky black softens to charcoal gray, then blue, then a blush of gentle amber. On the farthest edge of the horizon, no one calls it out, but every man and woman on the ship feels it. Your eyes blink open to the creaking of timbers and the subtle change in light. The scent of the sea is stronger now, salter, fresher. The sails have gone still, no wind, and so the oars return. One by one, Viking rowers rise, stretching limbs stiff from sleep. There is no groaning or complaining, only routine, quiet practice, steady. They take their places on either side of the longship, where wooden benches run like ribs from bow to stern. Each oar is massive, heavier than it looks, smoothed by years of hands, storm, sun, and silence. You're invited to sit and watch up close. The rowing isn't frantic. It isn't competitive. It's rhythmic, almost meditative. 30 warriors, some older, some young, move in perfect unison. The lead rower begins a count, just a murmur, and then the boat begins to pulse forward, cutting through the sea with grace. Push, pull, glide. Push, pull, glide. The longship doesn't lurch. It breathes forward. You sit next to a rower named Jark, his arms thick with old scars, his beard long and beaded. He doesn't speak much, but he nods to you as if to say, watch, learn. You begin to hear the music in it all. Not music made with instruments, but music made from motion, breath, and shared effort. The ship becomes a living thing. Its oars like wings, its hull like a heart, and the crew, they are its bloodstream, pumping forward towards somewhere unseen, but somehow known. Occasionally, Jark grins, not because he's amused, but because the act of rowing itself grounds him, connects him. He tells you softly, this is where our gods hear us best, not in temples, but when we move as one. You nod, not out of obligation, but because it makes sense in a way you didn't expect. The sea whispers around the sides of the ship, and every stroke of the oars adds to the quiet chant of the journey. No one rushes. No one hesitates. Each man watches the shoulders in front of him, matching the angle, the pace, the patience, and it becomes hypnotic, not boring, not loud, just timeless. You close your eyes, and you can still feel the motion. Push, pull, glide. The sky above brightens now, the pink of sunrise trailing behind you. The horizon ahead is wide open. No land yet, no destination in sight, but not a soul on the ship is worried. They are meant for this motion, this journey. They row not only to move forward, but to stay whole. And you, a quiet guest on this floating breath of history, feel yourself being drawn into the rhythm, into the heartbeat of something older than time. The sun climbs slowly, never rushing, a golden arc rising over the still water, its warmth subtle but comforting, like a hand placed lightly on your shoulder. It is midday now, but out here, there is no clock, no bell to mark the hour. Time moves in a circular way, soft, endless, like the rhythm of the tide, or the wind across the sail. You're sitting near the center of the ship, your back resting against a bundle of cloth-covered supplies. watching the oars glide through the sea, their wooden blades catching slivers of sunlight. The world feels like it has been reduced to only three things: water, sky, and this long, graceful boat. Occasionally, you glance at the faces of the rowers. Some are dozing now, taking turns resting. Others sit quietly, mending bits of leather or sharpening tools. Not because there's urgent work, but because hands like to stay busy. The ship moves on, pulled gently by the wind and nudged by oars. But nothing feels forced. This part of the journey is sacred, not in the religious sense, but in the way silence is sacred. After a storm of noise, the only sounds now are the soft lap of water against the hull, the quiet creak of ropes, the occasional seabird passing overhead, and the low hum of the wind whispering across the sailcloth. No one talks much, not because there's nothing to say, but because nothing needs to be said. Your host from earlier, Jark, returns to sit beside you. He hands you a piece of dried fish, a kind of midday offering. You take it grateful, though you're not sure if you're hungry, or simply participating in the ritual of sharing. He says very little, only, "See, he's in a good mood today." You nod. It truly is. Even the ocean seems to have settled into a kind of slow meditation. Not asleep, but dreaming. You lie back and let your eyes drift upward. Clouds hang high in the sky, shaped like soft hills, slowly tumbling across the blue. You feel your own breath slow, matching the rhythm of the ship's sway. And in this moment, you begin to understand something that isn't written in history books. This is what Viking life was. Not just fire and battle, but days like this. Calm, quiet, unfolding. The beauty of the journey wasn't only in where it led, but in how it was traveled. And maybe, just maybe, there's a lesson hidden here. To sit still, to drift forward without forcing, to trust the wind and the people beside you. You close your eyes again, listening to the hush of the sea, a lullaby older than memory. The ship rocks gently beneath you. You are part of it now, not a passenger, but a thread in the tapestry of this quiet, ancient voyage. Time has stretched and softened like old parchment warmed by the sun. You sit again beneath the sail's soft shadow, letting your fingers drift along the rough grain of the wooden bench. The sea has been gentle all day, its waves barely whispering against the sides of the longship. And now, the crew begins to stir, in that quiet way people do, when the sun starts to dip toward the west. Not a word is spoken, yet everyone seems to know the day is slowly moving on. Jark returns once more, this time carrying a small carved box. He lowers himself beside you and opens it. Inside are small tokens. Simple things, bits of bone, stone, iron. He picks up a round, flat piece of metal and holds it out to you. "Found this in Gotland," he says. "Old Roman coin, worth nothing to us now, but it's a good story." And with that, he begins to talk. Not loudly, not with any urgency, but in a soft, unhurried tone, like someone stirring soup over a low fire. He tells you of a merchant in Hedeby who once tried to sell fake amber, of a wedding feast where the mead ran dry, so they mixed it with honeyed seawater, and no one noticed until morning. You smile, not because the tales are wild, but because they feel real, grounded in the quiet texture of Viking life. Someone nearby, an older man, face weather like bark, leans in to listen to. Then he adds his own tale about a storm off the Orkneys that tore the sail clean off, and how they rowed for 3 days, singing the whole time to keep their strength. One by one, others gather. The longship has become a floating hearth. The the sail above you like the roof of a quiet lodge, sheltering a circle of calm voices. The sea listens. Even the birds seem quieter. And in that moment, you realize something beautiful. This is history too. Not the kind scribbled in dusty books, but the living kind carried in voices, in laughter, in the quiet nods between stories. You close your eyes and just listen. There is no rush, no destination, only this floating room of memories and wind. And in its center, you, not a stranger anymore, but a welcomed listener in a long line of listeners, linked not by blood, but by story. And oh, how powerful a story can be when it is whispered slowly beneath the great white sail of a Viking ship, drifting gently on an ancient sea. The sun has melted behind the horizon, and the sky has turned a shade of blue. So deep and quiet feels like velvet. The sail overhead no longer flutters. It rests still and soft, as if the ship itself is taking a breath. Dinner, if it can be called that, was simple. A few dried fish passed around, some seaweed bread. You didn't expect it to be a feast. You expected less, actually, but what made it feel like a feast was a quiet company, the way no one rushed, the way people looked at one another with eyes that had known many seas. Now the men are setting up for the evening watch. No loud orders, just small gestures, practiced and wordless. A pair of brothers climbed to the rear of the ship, one settling behind the rudder, with a hand resting gently on the tiller. He looks out across the water, his gaze not scanning for danger, but simply observing, the way someone might watch the edge of a fire, in the darkness of a hunt. You sit near the mast, wrapped in a wool cloak. Someone offered it to you earlier. No words exchanged, just a nod. That kind of warmth lingers. A young boy, maybe 15, sits beside you with a small lyre in his lap. He doesn't play it, but plucks a few strings, letting soft notes float into the night air, like drifting feathers. You listen, not just to the music, but to the silence around it. There's the creak of the wood, as the longship sways gently on the dark sea. There's the rhythmic splash of water, lapping along the hull, and somewhere out there, a distant gull cries. Just once, you wonder how many nights like this have passed on this ship, how many skies it has sailed beneath, how many dreams it has carried in the quiet minds of its crew. Tonight, you are part of that chain. You are not a Viking, not a sailor, not even truly a guest, but you are present. You are watching, listening, feeling the ship breathe as night settles around it. And that, somehow, feels like enough. The stars begin to appear, not one by one, but all at once, as if the sky has remembered who it is. You look up, and they seem closer than you've ever seen them. Bright, ancient, knowing. The ship drifts onward. No rush, no noise, no destination more important than the one it's already reached. This moment, this calm, this quiet, this simple, shared night, on a sea that doesn't mind being watched. The night deepens now, and with it, the world around you softens to shadows and whispers. The stars have multiplied, twinkling like scattered gems tossed across the sky. The moon, a silver sliver, sails silently alongside your longship. The crew has settled into their quiet rhythms, some asleep on wooden benches, others leaning against the mast or rail, faces softened by the dim light, breathing in time with the gentle sway of the ship. You lie back, letting the rough wood press softly into your shoulders, eyes tracing the curve of the sail overhead, its fabric kissed by moonlight. Your thoughts begin to drift, not with urgency, but with ease like the ship itself. You imagine the journeys these waters have carried. Fishermen casting nets before dawn, merchants trading spices and wool, children playing at the shore's edge. And you wonder what stories will be told of this very night. Years from now, will someone remember the quiet moments, the simple peace beneath the stars? Or will these moments be swallowed by time, like footprints washed away by the tide? But for now, you hold on to the present, the slow heartbeat of the sea, the soft rustle of sail, the steady breath of the crew. Sleep begins to pull at your eyelids, not in a rush, but gently, like a kind hand easing you into rest. And as you surrender to the night's embrace, you know that this voyage, this gentle passage through time and tide, has been a gift, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful journeys are those taken in stillness, where the world falls away, and all that remains is the quiet hum of life and the steady rocking of a Viking ship under the moon's watchful eye. The first faint blush of dawn gently paints the eastern sky, a soft wash of pink and lavender spilling slowly across the horizon. The darkness of night surrenders its hold, making way for the gentle arrival of morning light. The sea below mirrors this subtle transformation, its surface glassy and calm, barely disturbed by the faintest ripple. The longship rocks in slow, steady pulses, as if breathing in sync with the waking world. Around you, the crew begins to stir with deliberate care, moving with practiced ease in the low light. There is no sudden rush, no sharp commands, only the quiet sounds of gentle footsteps, whispers shared between comrades, still holding on to their last moments of rest. A young woman rises from her place by the mast. Her braided hair, tied back with simple leather thong, glows faintly in the morning light. She moves slowly toward the prow of the ship, her bare feet barely making a sound on the worn wooden planks. Leaning against the railing, she gazes out over the endless sea, her eyes tracing the soft contours of waves that stretch to the horizon. The salty air is crisp and fresh, carrying with it the scent of seaweed and damp wood. From below decks, the warm glow of embers flickers in the galley, and the faint aroma of smoldering peat smoke drifts upward, blending with the cool morning breeze. Nearby, a few other crew members stretch and yawn, sharing quiet greetings in low voices. The bonds between them are unspoken but strong, a shared trust built over countless days and nights spent on the open water. The ship itself feels alive in this early hour, the creak of the timbers like a whispered lullaby, the gentle slap of waves against the hull a soothing rhythm. As the sun's first golden rays break the horizon, they spill warmth over the ship's weathered wooden frame, casting long shadows and illuminating the intricacies of the carved dragon-head prow. This fierce symbol of protection and guidance glows with a quiet majesty, a reminder of the strength that lies beneath this calm moment. You feel a profound sense of stillness and connection, a rare and precious pause in the endless movement of the sea and time. The dawn watch is more than a simple task. It is a time of reflection and renewal, a moment to feel the heartbeat of the ship beneath your feet, to breathe deeply in the fresh morning air, and to find peace in the simple rhythms of life. This is a quieter side of Viking voyages, a world away from the tales of raids and battles. Here, life is measured by the slow turning of the tides, the rising and setting of the sun, and the steady companionship of those who sail beside you. The day ahead holds no promises of conquest or glory, but instead offers something equally valuable, the enduring beauty of a shared journey and the quiet power of nature's embrace. You close your eyes briefly, letting the warmth of the sun and the gentle rocking of the ship lull you into a peaceful reverie. In this moment, you are both a traveler and a witness to the enduring spirit of the sea, and the timeless dance between man and nature. The dawn watch continues as the world awakens around you, a silent witness to the beauty of a day unfolding on a Viking longship. The sun climbs slowly higher now, casting a warm glow over the shimmering waves. A gentle breeze rises, teasing the sails, filling the ship's wide canvas with a soft, steady breath. The sails billow gracefully, their coarse woven fabric catching the wind like the wings of a great bird. The ship responds obediently, gliding forward with quiet purpose across the vast expanse of water. Around you, the crew moves with practiced ease, each task performed with a quiet rhythm of well-worn routine. Some adjust the rigging with careful hands, the ropes creaking softly as they shift under steady pressure. Others stand watch, their eyes scanning the horizon, alert yet calm, attuned to every subtle change in wind or wave. The ocean is vast and endlessly mysterious. Its surface sparkles with sunlight, yet beneath lies a world of shifting currents, hidden depths, and secrets known only to those who have spent their lives upon it. You find yourself drawn into the ship's steady heartbeat. The creak of wood, the slap of waves against the hull, the whisper of wind through the rigging. It is a soundscape both ancient and alive, connecting you to generations of seafarers who have sailed these waters long before. The crew shares quiet conversations, their voices low and steady like the ebb and flow of the tide. Stories are told, not of battle or conquest, but of the simple things. The taste of fresh bread baked on shore, the laughter of children left behind, the scent of pine forests rising from distant lands. A fisherman casts a line into the water, patiently waiting for a catch to break the surface. Nearby, a few men clean and repair their tools, the dull scrape of stone on metal blending into the background hum of the ship. You notice how the sunlight catches the water droplets on the ship's deck, turning them into tiny jewels that sparkle briefly before sliding away. The air is alive with a mingling sense of salt, wood, and a faint trace of pine resin from the ship's timbers. As the day unfolds, a sense of quiet wonder settles over you. This journey is not one of grand adventures or fierce battles, but of simple endurance and a deep bond between sailor and sea. The vastness around you feels both humbling and inspiring, a reminder of the world's endless mysteries and the smallness of one ship drifting upon it. And yet, within this small, moving world, there's a profound sense of connection to the water, to the wind, to the people who share this voyage. As the sun reaches its zenith, you allow yourself to fully embrace the moment, the warmth on your skin, the rhythm of the ship beneath your feet, and the endless, whispering call to sea. As the sun arcs slowly across the sky, its light filtering down through the open hatches, the ship's rhythm seems to soften just a little. The steady creaking and swaying become a gentle lullaby to those who seek brief respite from the endless motion. Below deck, away from the bright glare of day, a small fire burns low on the hearth. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on the timber walls, painting the space with a warm amber glow. Here, the atmosphere is quiet, almost sacred. The smell of burning peat mingles with the faint aroma of dried herbs, sage, juniper, and a touch of seaweed, kept for their healing and comforting qualities. Around the hearth, the crew gathers in small clusters, sharing stories in hushed voices, their faces softened by the firelight. There's laughter, too, gentle and easy, like a balm against the isolation of the open sea. A woman sits spinning wool, her hands moving in a slow, steady rhythm. The soft, scratchy sound of the spindle twirling adds to the quiet symphony. Nearby, a young man repairs a leather strap with careful, practiced fingers, his gaze focused and calm. The ship feels like a small floating village, each person playing their part in this close-knit community. Here, far from land, the boundaries of time seem to blur, days and nights folding into one another like the gentle waves outside. Occasionally, the creak of the hull or the distant call of a seabird breaks the silence, a reminder of the vast world beyond these wooden walls. This space below deck is a haven, a place to rest, to heal, to dream. The simple rituals, tending the fire, mending clothes, sharing quiet conversation, are threads that weave the fabric of daily life on a Viking ship. You might imagine the faces around you, weathered and kind, eyes that have seen countless horizons, yet still carry the spark of curiosity. In this small, glowing space, time slows and the harshness of the sea feels softened, held at bay by warmth, companionship, and the steady glow of the fire. As you breathe in the mingled scents and sounds, you feel a deep sense of belonging and peace. This is the quieter story of the Vikings, not just warriors or explorers, but people seeking comfort, finding beauty and strength in small moments of warmth and rest. As the day gently fades toward evening, the light softens to a dusky pink and gold, casting a tranquil glow over the ship's wooden planks. The sea, once lively with sparkling waves, now lies calm and smooth like glass, mirroring the sky's fading colors. The wind settles to a gentle breeze, carrying the subtle scent of salt and pine. On deck, the crew moves with slower, deliberate steps, their faces relaxed and thoughtful. The day's work is mostly done, and the longship seems to breathe with ease. Some gather near the bow, eyes fixed on the horizon, watching as the sky shifts through shades of purple and rose. There's a quiet reverence in the air, a moment to pause to reflect and simply be. You might hear the soft murmur of voices, sharing stories or memories of distant homes, the words blending with the gentle lapping of water against the hull. A few fishermen cast their nets once more, hoping for a final catch before nightfall. Their movements are careful and practiced, an ancient dance with the sea's ebb and flow. The ship's timbers creak softly in rhythm with the waves, a soothing sound that fills the twilight air. As darkness slowly deepens, lanterns are lit along the rails, their warm glow flickering like tiny stars against the encroaching night. The air cools, but the sense of calm remains, a peaceful pause between the day's end and the quiet mystery of night. You might imagine the thoughts of those aboard, dreams of home, of family, of journeys yet to come. This is a time of gentle contemplation, where the vastness of the sea invites both awe and quiet comfort. And as you listen, you too may feel a part of this timeless voyage, carried softly on the evening breeze, drifting with the longship beneath the fading light. As the final light of day slips below the horizon, the Viking ship rests beneath a velvet sky sprinkled with stars. The moon, a slender crescent, casts a pale glow, softly illuminating the wooden timbers and gently swaying sails. The sea is a quiet companion now, dark, vast, and shimmering with the faintest silver glints. Below deck, the crew settles into their resting places, their bodies relaxed after the long hours of travel. The hum of whispered conversations fades to silence, replaced by the gentle creaks and sighs of the ship itself. The crackle of the last embers in the hearth whispers a soft farewell to the day's warmth, while the cool night air seeps through the small gaps in the hull. Some keep watching shifts, eyes scanning the horizon for signs of land or storm, their silhouettes framed by the lantern light. In these quiet hours, thoughts drift like the stars above, to distant homesteads, to loved ones, to adventures past and those yet to come. The ship seems to breathe with a life of its own, carrying the hopes and dreams of those aboard through the endless night. You might imagine yourself wrapped in a warm cloak, rocked gently by the waves, feeling the heartbeat of the sea beneath you. This is a final piece of the day, a time for rest, for reflection, for dreams. And as you listen to the soft sounds of the night, may your own thoughts drift gently, finding calm and comfort in this timeless voyage. As the night deepens, the Viking ship drifts slowly on the endless sea, rocked by the gentle rhythm of the waves, a timeless lullaby whispered by the ocean itself. The stars above twinkle quietly, their soft light accompanying presence in the vast darkness. Tonight, the ship is more than wood and sail. It is a vessel carrying stories, memories, and the dreams of those who journey upon it. As you listen to these stories, you too become part of this voyage, a silent traveler on the calm sea of history and imagination. May this quiet moment bring you peace, a soft place to rest your thoughts and drift gently towards sleep. Remember, the past is full of quiet wonders waiting to be discovered. And with each story, we uncover a little more of the world's gentle mysteries. If this journey has brought you calm and curiosity, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe so we can continue exploring these peaceful stories together. Thank you for sharing this quiet space tonight, where history and rest meet in gentle harmony. Now, as you settle in and close your eyes, I wish you good night and the sweetest of dreams. Until we meet again, may your nights be calm and your mornings bright.